Hey everyone, this is Tim Avery at Real Broker. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to go through the monthly mailer that I sent. And of course, this month it was on fraud, but I also put that little section in there that just deals with low ball offers, something that tends to be frustrating to so many of us. Almost on a weekly basis, I got calls from property owners. Sometimes it's folks who own homes, sometimes people who just have vacant property. But the commonality that they share is they're telling me about this letter that they've received in the mail. And many times it's not only a single letter, but they may receive multiple letters on a monthly basis offering to buy their home or their property at a discount. And so the first question that I'm always asked when property owners reach out is they'll say, Tim, is this a scam? And typically, it's not a scam per se. It's not a scam in the way that we usually think of scams. These are usually legit bargain hunters. These are real estate investors. More often than not, they're from other states, a lot of folks from Texas, California, other parts of the country. Your letter may come from anywhere in the US, but these are land investors. So they take time, they search out land websites. They're looking for property owners who may live out of state, property owners who have owned their real estate for several years, property owners who may have vacant land or homes. Perhaps they've experienced a loss. Maybe it was an elderly property owner who just passed away, leaving a property, a home, vacant land to their children, and their kids are now not sure what to do, and they just want to dispose of it, get it sold, and then let's move on. And so what these folks will do is reach out, offering in most cases something that's far below market value for the real estate. Now, their equation usually works something like this. They'll have a reasonably good idea of the perceived market value. Then they will come in and offer roughly 25%. So if perceived market value is here, they'll come in way down here, offering about 25% of what they believe the value to be. Then they reach out to find a realtor. And as frequently as I get calls from property owners saying, I've received a letter, I also get a call from these investors saying, hey, would you list this property for me? And we start talking about it, and soon I discovered they don't really own it. They've just, quote, put it under contract with someone like yourself, and now they're looking for a realtor to list it for them. And so before we go any further, I want you to know I never do those deals. That's called wholesaling. And I never step into a wholesale situation. I only deal with people who actually own property. So they come in with a 25% offer of fair market value. Then they find a realtor who will list it at 2 to 3 times what they paid. So that gives them enough margin to make a nice profit, to pay their real estate compensation, to pay closing costs going both directions when they buy it, then when they sell it, and then they move on to the next property. So that's kind of how it works. Perceived market value will offer 25%. We'll find a realtor, ask him to list it at 2 to 3 times what we paid. We pay the compensation, we pay our closing costs, and then we move on. Now, why might these not be in your best interest, apart from the obvious fact that in most cases, you're getting too little for the real estate that is yours? Just kind of how these guys work is they'll send out approximately 7,500 letters at a time. So if you think, oh, they just send out a few of these letters and I'm one of the select few, no, they send out several thousand letters, usually in a minimum bulk of 7,500, could be 10,000, could be 15,000. And it's purely a numbers game. The more letters you send out, the more people are going to respond, the more deals you can close. So, what does that look like in reality? For every group of 7,500 letters that are sent out, they're usually in a ballpark of 20 to 30 people who respond positively saying, "Hey, I'm interested. I've held on to my property. I thought I was going to build on it. I thought I was going to retire on it. And my plans have changed. So now I just want to get rid of it. And your deal sounds good. So please count me in." So they won't accept all of those 20 to 30. They'll go through their process of due diligence and then they'll follow up and they will literally close on only a handful, probably no more than five. So out of 7,500 letters sent, five deals closed, folks, that is 1/100th. I'm not a math major, but that's 1/100th of 1% of deals closed. So they don't close very many in proportion to the number of letters that they send out. So, why might it not be a good deal for you? Well, inevitably, these offers all come with a one-page contract. Maybe you were fortunate enough to get one that's printed on the front and the back side. I don't know, but it's usually a very skimpy contract. And as you read through that, it solely favors the buyer. There really is virtually no protection in there for you whatsoever. And they almost always say, "Hey, if we get down the line and we're doing our due diligence and figure out that we don't want the property, we can just walk away." Secondly, there's no earnest money attached to that. In other words, they don't deposit earnest money to show you that they're serious about doing this deal with a reputable title company. So you get a simple one-page contract granting you no assurances. And they're saying if everything goes great, we're going to close. This is what it will look like. They also say in their contract, we will close with our title company. And you have no idea who that title company is. You have no idea if your title work is being processed legally, effectively, with excellence. You don't know if you may find yourself in a bind somewhere down the road because the title work was done ineffectively, if it was done at all on this kind of a deal. And I should mention, these are never done on real state approved, regardless of what state you live in. There is a Department of Real Estate or a real estate commission in your state, and they never use real estate commission approved contracts. Why is that? Because the real estate commission provides safeguards for both buyers and sellers in that. And so that's how these folks work. They don't want you to have any options. They want to hold all the cards. And they get to a point where they ultimately go through their due diligence and they realize that perhaps we offered too much on this piece of property, so they'll just come back to you and say, "Hey, we're not interested. After conducting our due diligence, we're no longer interested in your property." We had that happen very recently to a seller right here locally. The seller called me, said, "Tim, I got one of these letters. Let me read it to you." And I said, "Mary, what's the offer?" She told me, and it sounded far too high. And so, as we followed through, I called on her behalf, the person who had sent the letter, and they go, once they realized their mistake, they said, "Oh, someone in our office sent that letter out by mistake. It wasn't supposed to go to that area." So, is it a scam? No, not technically. And there are certainly some reputable land investors out there who send letters and do it the right way and that sort of thing. But again, it comes down to being a numbers game. So I just want to help you on that low ball offer. Just kind of realize what's happening in the background, how it all works, and that sort of thing. I think it's just something to keep in mind. And if you ever find yourself in a place where you need to sell quickly, we can help you with that. And I would venture to say, in helping you with that. We're going to be able to put a lot more money in your pocket than if you were just to accept one of those letters that comes your way. So just always feel free via phone call, text, email. You've got my contact information on the letter. Just feel free to reach out with any questions, and just know you're not alone out there. You're not the only one in the boat holding the letter that just offered you 25,000 for your $100,000 piece of property. It's going on all over the country. And so we share in your frustration, not much we can do about it. My recommendation, rather than my blood pressure usually goes up and my heart rate goes up when I see these letters. And so my wife says, just wad it up, throw it away, get it in the trash can, get it out of your mind as quickly as possible. But if you ever have questions about that, always know I'm here to help. Just feel free to reach out. And I hope this has been at least a little bit useful, just as it relates to lowball offers. Take care.